The United Kingdom is the most familiar country on Earth. And that familiarity is exactly what makes it so misunderstood. Because when you think you already know something, you stop looking. So today, we start from the ground up. Have you heard of Ogof Finnddu? Most people haven't. It's the deepest cave in the UK, hidden in Wales, plunging over 300 meters underground. It contains more than 60 kilometers of explored passages, making it the third longest cave network in Britain and one of the most impressive systems in Europe. Almost nobody outside the caving world knows it exists. Now think of the English countryside you've seen in movies. A lot of it is in England. So many films set in England were actually filmed in the Scottish Highlands or Welsh mountains because they're more dramatic. Scenes from Harry Potter, James Bond's Skyfall, The Dark Knight Rises, and Wonder Woman all use Scottish landscapes to stand in for England. Birmingham has more canals than Venice. It sounds false, but it's true. Birmingham has about 35 miles of navigable canals. Venice has 26 miles. Those waterways were built in the late 1700s when Birmingham was the manufacturing engine of the world, moving coal, iron, and copper. That network was the circulatory system of the British Industrial Revolution. The UK also has more castles per square mile than almost any country on Earth. Over 1,500 in England alone. Add Scotland and Wales, and you have thousands of castles packed into a country roughly the size of the U.S. state of Oregon. Medieval Britain was essentially an arms race, but built in stone. And here's a strange one. Every single whale and dolphin in UK waters is technically owned by the king. A law from 1324 says all fish is royal, which includes sturgeons, whales, dolphins, and porpoises belong to the crown. That law has never been repealed. So right now, orcas swimming near the Shetland Islands legally belong to King Charles III. London sits on a tidal river, and the Romans chose that spot on purpose. The Thames rises and falls twice a day through the heart of central London. When the Romans built Londinium, they picked this specific bend because the tides made it navigable from the sea, perfect for trade and military access. Those same tides still move through London today, twice every single day. Edinburgh Castle sits on the plug of an ancient supervolcano. That dramatic, almost impossibly steep rock is the solidified core of a volcano that last erupted 350 million years ago. The whole layout of Edinburgh, its ridges, hills, and valleys, was carved by ancient volcanic activity. It's one of the most geologically wild capital cities on Earth. Scotland covers 32% of the UK's land, but only 8% of its population lives there. Two-thirds of Scotland is essentially empty. The highlands are vast in a way that's difficult to comprehend until you drive through them. Hours of mountain passes, lochs, and ancient forests, sometimes without passing a single town or even seeing another car. And yet Scotland is the part of the UK most people imagine as dense and urban. It's the complete opposite. New Zealand and the UK are roughly similar in size, but New Zealand has 5.5 million people. The UK has 70 million. Same space, 15 times the people. The UK is one of the most densely packed countries on Earth. It just doesn't feel like it because the infrastructure hides it so well. There's a town in the UK with fewer than 400 people. Fordwich in Kent is officially, legally a town, the smallest in the entire United Kingdom. It has the tiniest town hall in England, still standing, still official. It's a whole town, just a very, very small one. Manchester was the world's first industrial city. Not the first in Britain, the first anywhere on Earth. Manchester invented what it means to be an industrial city. Factories, mass production, a huge working population, and the social upheaval that came with it. Every industrial city that followed, from Detroit to Osaka, runs on a template Manchester created from scratch. London was the largest city in the world for 90 consecutive years, from 1835 to 1925. It was the center of the world's most powerful empire, the first city in human history to pass 2 million people, later reaching 7.5 million. To keep that machine moving, London built the world's first underground railway and one of the first massive sewer networks. Then in 1925, New York became bigger. The island of Great Britain is physically tilting. During the last ice age, a massive ice sheet pushed Scotland down into the Earth's mantle. Since the ice melted, Scotland has been slowly bouncing back up. And because the island behaves like a giant seesaw, this rise forces southern England to sink. Parts of Scotland rise by up to 10 centimeters per century, while parts of England sink at a similar rate, increasing flood risk in London. The Gulf Stream is the only reason the UK feels livable. The UK sits at the same latitude as parts of Canada that freeze for months every year. Britain avoids that fate because of a warm ocean current from the Gulf of Mexico. If it weakens significantly, temperatures could drop by up to 8 degrees Celsius. The mild climate, green landscapes, and familiar seasons are all powered by borrowed Atlantic warmth. The Orkney Islands get almost 19 hours of daylight in summer. In June, the sun barely sets. It dips below the horizon for only a couple of hours before rising again. Locals call it the simmer dim, a strange half-light where true night never fully arrives. Your body expects darkness, but the sky refuses to cooperate. There's a village in Scotland that gets colder than the South Pole. In January 1995, Altnahara recorded minus 27.2 degrees Celsius. That's colder than the average summer temperature at South Pole research stations. It's a deep inland valley surrounded by mountains. Cold air sinks, gets trapped, and cannot escape. On clear winter nights, the temperature keeps falling deeper than most people can imagine. The wettest place in England gets over 3.5 meters of rain every year. Seathwaite in the Lake District averages 3,552 millimeters annually, making it one of the wettest inhabited places in Europe. Same country, completely different planet from London. And yet London is not actually rainy. This sounds wrong, but London receives around 600 millimeters of rainfall per year. Rome gets 800. New York and Sydney get around 1,200. What London has is gray skies and frequent drizzle, a persistent low-level dampness that spreads itself across many days rather than arriving in heavy downpours. London drizzles. It doesn't pour. In fact, London is one of Europe's driest capitals. The English Channel is the busiest shipping lane on the entire planet. Over 500 ships a day pass through it. Not the Suez Canal, not the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow stretch of water between England and France, only 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, is the single most trafficked waterway on Earth. England's famous Lake District doesn't have any of the UK's biggest lakes. Windermere, the most photographed and postcard-famous lake in England, is only the 10th largest in the UK. The genuinely big ones are all in Scotland and Northern Ireland. The Lake District has been selling itself on a reputation its lakes don't quite back up. The biggest lake in the UK is a place most people have never heard of. Not Loch Ness, not Loch Lomond. Loch Ness in Northern Ireland covers roughly 396 square kilometers. It is enormous, far larger than anything in Scotland or England, and it barely gets a mention in any conversation about British geography. Northern Ireland's lake quietly being the biggest, while everyone argues about Scotland feels very on brand. Loch Ness holds more water than every lake in England and Wales put together. Every lake in 2 entire countries doesn't add up to what sits in this one Scottish loch. And the thing Loch Ness is most famous for, the monster, has never been proven to exist. It's one of the world's most volcanically impressive bodies of water, and we mainly talk about it because of a blurry photograph from 1933. England's highest mountain is Scafell Pike at 978 meters. In Scotland, 978 meters wouldn't make the top 75 peaks. Not even close. Scotland has 282 mountains above 3,000 feet, called Munros after the Victorian surveyor who catalogued them. Scafell Pike's height doesn't even qualify as a Munro. Every single one of the 75 highest peaks in the United Kingdom is in Scotland. Wales is completely missing from the UK's own flag. The Union Jack has the Cross of England, the Cross of Scotland, and the Cross of Ireland. Wales, one of the 4 nations, is not there. Not a trace. When the flag was designed, Wales had already been merged with England, so it wasn't considered separately. That means the Welsh dragon, one of the most iconic national symbols in Europe, never made it onto the flag of the country Wales is part of. And finally, the fact that changes everything. English is the global language, the language of aviation, science, diplomacy, and the internet, entirely because of geography. Britain was an island. Being an island forced it to build a navy to survive and trade. That navy made it the most powerful maritime force in history. That maritime power built the largest empire the world has ever seen. That empire spread English to every corner of the globe. Today, over 1.5 billion people speak it. Not because British culture was irresistible, but because that island was positioned in exactly the right place at exactly the right time with exactly the right coastline to become a naval superpower. Geography didn't just shape the UK. Through the UK, it shaped the entire world.